Thanks for checking out our video. Feel free to join our free weekly newsletter called Pop Culture Annotated, and also join our Discord server to talk with us and others that share your fandom in pop culture entertainment. Links in the description. Hey everybody, how's it going? So it seems like every month so far, at the beginning of every month, early in the morning, Marvel releases a new Avengers trailer. I'm not mad, I'm just saying it's a interesting kind of pattern I've noticed so far. But this one has a lot of spoilers. This is called the Avengers Endgame Special Look, but really I think a more proper title would be just a trailer number 3, because this is not really, I mean, it's a minute long, but it feels like it's 3 minutes of footage that we've never seen before, which is crazy because so far we haven't really seen much, but this one shows us certain things we haven't seen before, like Thanos, Iron Man's new armor, I mean, all the Avengers together, basically, Tony and Cap together. It's crazy, but let's get right into it. So the beginning of it, in this first kind of still shot that you see here with Bruce Banner, it gives the impression that they're going to confront Thanos, which obviously isn't that great of an idea. And they even kind of make a comment, you know, we're kind of shorthanded here, and Bruce Banner says, like, why do you think? And I think Rhodey even joins in too, and he's like, you mean because a lot of our friends are killed? So it definitely seems like if this is still the first 20-30 minutes of footage, we're going to have a very fast-paced, action-packed, I guess, first act of Avengers Endgame. And the next scene here isn't nothing special. We get to see Thor. The only thing I kind of noticed is it looks like his eyes aren't that different in this scene. It might just be the shot itself. I don't know if maybe Thor got his eyes repaired, if this is after the time skip and he maybe did that, but it's just something that I saw. Alright, so this next shot here, I only think it's interesting because it's worth noting that Black Widow has the red hair, and we've established from previous trailer breakdowns that the Black Widow we see with red hair is the Black Widow after the time skip that they have in this movie versus the one with the platinum blonde hair. So I'm wondering what's going on here. It looks like she's being very reflective, you know, kind of one of those moments. Maybe this is before she goes to find Ronan/Hawkeye, maybe this is afterwards. Or maybe this is just right in the beginning of the film when it looks like a lot of characters, they show how they're dealing with their grief and really how they're dealing with the fact that half of basically everything is gone. Now in the next shot we get to see Captain America in front of a mirror. I guess this is when he shaves off his facial hair that everyone loves so much from Infinity War. A lot of people kind of saw that, as well as being just like Black Widow with her hair color change. A lot of people saw that the time skip might be determined potentially by both Captain America pre and post shave. Now, one thing I find interesting here is just like, when you look at the scene, it looks like this might be right before they go out and do whatever mission it is, which seems to be, like I said before, confronting Thanos. So it looks like he's kind of mentally preparing himself, because we've seen in previous trailers, you know, he's going to these groups and stuff like that every week, probably every day maybe, to kind of talk about what he's going through. And you know, it's a lot, and it seems like a big thing this movie is going to zone in on is the mental toll this takes, not only on our heroes, but just in general on the world, society, and probably with Thanos himself. Now, the next shot is pretty cool just because we get to see Rocket back with his fellow Guardian of the Galaxy member and Nebula, and they're probably just reconciling, you know, just talking about everything that's been going on and how crazy it is. But it does also confirm, because of the setting, that yes, when everyone's going outside and looking up, that wasn't Captain Marvel, which we kind of already knew at this point, but instead that was Tony and Nebula coming back down to Earth and everyone presumably greeting them. Now, continuing off of this scene, we also get to see Pepper there, and Pepper and Tony are embracing and stuff like that. And you know, I know a lot of people don't like Pepper, but all things considered, it does make a lot of sense for her to be in this film and in this moment, so I'm happy that they're able to get her back in there. There's been obviously set leaks that seemingly show her and confirm her being in the rescue armor. Not really much to say here besides, yeah, Tony's back, and it looks like with the voiceover stuff as well that's going on during this scene, it really does look like Tony is in that avenge mode, and he's saying, you know, we gotta confront him, we gotta get revenge, this and that. Alright, so this next shot we have here shows Iron Man in his new Mark 85 armor, which is pretty cool. Toys recently have come out for it, so I'm happy they're finally showing us it in motion because it looks fantastic. My only thing is, it's the Mark 85 armor. The one we got in Infinity War is Mark 50. So where did he get all this time to make the other ones in between if this really is in the first like 20 or so minutes? Unless this is post time skip, of course, and during that time skip he was basically tinkering nonstop, which, you know, knowing Tony based on his actions after Iron Man 3, I don't think that's too far-fetched. But just to get a little bit of speculation into this armor, there's some silver lines in it as well besides the golden arms and the golden legs, which is a reference to a lot of his older armors, especially like the Mark IV and Mark V, when he first started adding red to his kind of color palette. Now what I find interesting is that there's a lot of speculation because we know that Tony Stark has scenes in Wakanda in Avengers Endgame. People have been saying, you know, is the silver vibranium? Because the silver color, obviously, you know, silver is a very, you know, there's only so many colors silver could be. But I guess the silver that's utilized for this armor doesn't look too dissimilar from Captain America's shield before it got painted, and also just other vibranium we've seen before. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. We've been kind of building up to a moment like this in the past, because when you think about it, if they're really going to connect all the little plot threads we've seen in different films, Ultron had vibranium armor for himself. We've seen vibranium be used a lot more lately with Black Panther. So it doesn't, to me at least, it doesn't seem too far-fetched that Iron Man would finally, for his big last stand, utilize probably one of the most powerful, indestructible metals on Earth that would give him an advantage, or at least make him more competitive against Thanos. Now in the next scene, we get to see Hawkeye / Ronin with a nice arm sleeve tattoo. The one thing I could really make out of the tattoo is that it looks like there's a death skull, which might be a sign that this tattoo is in honor of his, you know, perished family members, which, if that's the case, obviously that's really sad. And yeah, it looks like Hawkeye is at Avengers HQ, and kind of, we've seen this before, he's getting briefed basically by the other Avengers on what's been going on, this and that, and I mean, he doesn't look happy, so I'm sure he's not hearing anything really positive, and just like, it is what it is kind of situation. Moving on, we get a brief kind of moment from the previous scenes we've gotten with Thor and Captain Marvel, with him kind of being like, I like her, and, you know, all that good stuff, and everyone on Twitter lost their minds and started shipping them together. And then going to the 10th still I have for you guys at 28 seconds. This is really interesting for a lot of reasons. I'm presuming this is right after everyone, you know, is back at Avengers HQ. We got Scott Lang, we got Black Widow, Rocket, Nebula, Tony Stark, Rhodey, Hawkeye, Steve Rogers, also clean shaven, which is important to note because it's very possible they're all looking at someone too. So I wouldn't be surprised if, is this them looking at Captain Marvel? Are they looking at Thor? Like, who are they looking at here? Because everyone's standing at attention almost, and that's just kind of odd to me because I don't really know what other character they would be like this for. This would make sense to me if you take Tony out and maybe they're looking at Tony. I've seen crazy theories out there, like maybe Bruce Banner's revealing the merged Hulk for the first time, and that's what they're all standing at, and that's why everyone kind of has a rather like neutral-ish like face because they don't really know what they're watching. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else they could be looking at. I doubt Thanos is just strolling in, you know, just nonchalantly, but you never know. And now the next scene I find really interesting because it looks like they're kind of in the Battle of New York, or at least in New York, and we see Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Now there's been set photos showing Steve Rogers in his Avengers 1 outfit. This is not the case. This is very clearly the most recent outfit, as you can see the kind of scale-like designs on his suit. Now, Tony Stark also does not appear to be wearing either his advanced suit armor or his Mark 85 armor in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not really sure what's going on here, but what I do like here is where Tony Stark says, "Do you trust me?" Captain America shakes his hand, says yes, and seemingly we get the reunion that we've been waiting for between Captain America and Iron Man. Also, I think it's worth noting that Tony Stark does look a bit older in this scene. His hair looks a bit more grayed and stuff like that, just a little slightly, but just that slight amount is basically enough to really point it out. But yeah, I don't really know what's going on here. Maybe this is a hint that, yeah, we are going to get either another battle in New York, or maybe, yes, we are going to time jump to New York. Who knows? Maybe old Captain America and old Iron Man will meet their younger counterparts. That'd be really interesting. Now, transitioning to this next part here at 36 seconds, we see Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Rhodey, Thor, Captain America, and Rocket in a ship heading somewhere. Now, this to me is really interesting because we've actually seen shots before that have Black Widow, and note that she's not with the red hair, she has the platinum blonde hair again. But it's interesting, like, where are they going? My theory is that they're going to confront Thanos short-handed, which is obviously going to lead into what was said in the beginning of the trailer. And basically they're just going to go kind of rage-fueled in and probably get their ass beat by Thanos. And it's also worth noting that Captain America in this scene has his Winter Soldier gear on as well, which I find very interesting. So this obviously does not take place and is not associated with the other, I guess, instances we've seen in the trailer so far of Captain America, since he has a much different armor on in that appearance, or I guess much different suit on in that appearance. And also it's worth noting that Captain Marvel is here, but we don't really see her later on with the team, so that's kind of weird. Now this next shot is something that's just really heartwarming and obviously bittersweet at the same time, because it's really nice to get these moments where we can really reflect on the relationship between Tony and Peter, that father-son like relationship. It's an interesting mentor-like relationship, because I don't really think anyone thought this would be the type of relationship that we would get in the MCU when Spider-Man was introduced. I think a lot of people thought Spider-Man would kind of do more of his own thing, not really have Tony be such an impactful mentor, and at the same time have Peter so impactful to Tony, to the point where it really looks like Tony was looking at this to refuel and refocus his anger and rage against Thanos. And, he said in the trailer too, we're the Avengers, we gotta avenge, things like that. So it definitely looks like Peter Parker's memory is going to be something that's really impactful to Tony. Now, one thing I find interesting about this next shot is that we seemingly see Titan. I believe that's Titan, and Thanos, according to different rumors and stuff like that, simply refuels Titan, replenishes Titan to make it beautiful again. And he calls it the Garden or Titan 2, depending on what leaks you're looking at, or who you're talking to. And we get to see Thanos' ship, so it does look like the Avengers are approaching Titan again to have a confrontation with Thanos. This is where we get a really cool shot of Rhodey's armor. That's what I like in this shot. Rhodey's armor. Obviously we see Nebula as well. The thing with Nebula I want to point out is that in certain toys we've seen Nebula have an orange kind of thing with her head. She doesn't have that here, so this also makes me think that this is pre-time skip, alongside the fact that Black Widow in this kind of moment, at least based on what looks like it all fits together and what doesn't fit together, it does look like Black Widow in this moment also has the blonde hair still. So I think this confrontation of Thanos is pre-time skip. They get their butts beat, they go back home, and then they kind of regain their efforts. So the next shot I actually find really interesting, because this can't be the same shot continuing from what we saw before. Captain America in that shot had the Winter Soldier gear on. In this shot he has different gear on, plus he has his shield, which I think is really important to mention, that Captain America gets his shield back, because he didn't have it in the last film, and obviously it's a very iconic symbol for Cap. Now my theory is that based on the things we've seen before in previous trailers, there is a fight at Avengers HQ. My guess is that they do whatever they want to do, and it probably triggers Thanos to some degree, and Thanos comes down to Avengers HQ to basically destroy all their efforts, and probably in Thanos' mind prevent them from pursuing whatever goal they're trying to pursue, which would probably undo the snap. And this probably takes place after the time skip, which is why characters like Captain America are in their more updated outfit versus their Winter Soldier outfit. And also it makes sense because it appears that Ant-Man is involved in that battle as well, and Ant-Man is not present when they're on that ship seemingly going to Titan. So I definitely think that this is two different fight scenes, but because of how the trailer's cut up, they want us to think it's one fight scene, because then right afterwards we see Thanos. However, I think it's worth noting that Thanos is using the Space Stone to go somewhere. If they were confronting Thanos on Titan 2, Thanos would not need to use the Space Stone to go anywhere. So I think this is the moment, and he's in his battle gear as well, which doesn't make sense. So I think Thanos right now in this moment is going to Earth, about to start the battle at Avengers HQ that we've been speculating about for quite some time at this point. And that's why certain characters, when they're seemingly in a battle scene like Nebula, Captain America, Ant-Man, they look different, or their outfits and everything just don't fit with the previous scenes we've gotten with them in a spaceship seemingly going to also confront Thanos. I think that's what's going on here, and I think the way they're shooting the trailer is to basically distract us a little bit and kind of confuse us. Now what I find interesting is that Thanos is basically mocking Tony Stark in the Avengers with this dialogue, saying because of your failure you want to undo everything I've done. So it's very interesting. I like the character Thanos. I think they've done a great job with him. Now the next scene here we get, I kind of put a red circle so some people that can't see it initially maybe will have a better ability to focus in on it. We see Thanos without his helmet, still in his armor, just kind of sitting there, and we see Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor approaching Thanos. Now, it's hard to tell, but I do think, just from the lighting a little bit, that this is Tony Stark in his new armor. I don't really know what's going on here. I don't know why Thanos would just be sitting there. Now, it does not look like this is tied in at all. It looks like this might be the battle, like I said before, at Avengers HQ. So I wonder if maybe Thanos is just kind of, he used the gauntlet. Maybe it really tired him out. So he's just kind of, taking a breather for a moment, easy 10 real quick. Not really sure what's going on, but comment below your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about this? I do think for sure this trailer confirms that we are getting 2 different battles with Thanos. One on Earth at Avengers HQ with all this destruction and stuff like that, and one on Titan, which probably won't end well for our heroes, and it's probably something's going to happen to Captain Marvel, considering they haven't really shown much of her after that, which I find interesting. But comment below your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? And we'll see you guys later.